Hello, everybody. This is Drew Demon, the Devil Stockbroker. This is going to be a live stream in Hell's Trading Floor for the earnings call on Biora. Doing a quick check-in on the charts. Biora is currently up from its close by about 5 cents, up to $1.08. Looks like the somebody give me the link, if you wouldn't mind, to the earnings report. If anyone's got it handy in the trading floor text. Thanks, Clint Beastwood. Much appreciated. So we got a Q2 earnings per share deficit of 3 cents, which beat the estimate of a 12-cent deficit by a solid 400%. Very nice. Or that would be, I'm sorry, that would be 300%. Still, that's an excellent beat. All right, so we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the earnings call, and we'll just leave the music going in the background a little bit while we wait for this thing to kick off.
It's a 75% beat, man.
Okay.
But see what you mean.
They're starting this thing at promptly 1:30, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can talk now. It's okay. I just wanted to go do the intro.
No, it's 4:30, not 1:30.
Sorry. I'm on the West Coast. I'm sorry.
It is 1:30 for you.
P&W. It's only 3:30 for me.
It's 4:20.
My favorite number.
I miss being able to just casually wake up at 8 in the morning, go get a coffee, and then sit down at my desk an hour before the market even opens. Just like calmly open up all my charts and look at everything, do a little bit of DD ahead of time. Now I'm like, I groggily wake up, I look over at my phone, I'm like, fuck it, it's not worth it, and then go straight back to sleep.
Come on, move out to the East Coast.
Yeah, you should move to the East Coast.
I used to be in Eastern time zone. Just decided to make a new life on the West Coast. It's brutal for a trader, though.
No, Flinster, I did not get into Megal. I saw that thing is definitely a roller coaster. It's a new IPO, kinda. Yeah, oh yeah, crazy risky for sure.
I saw Megal too. I looked at the way that it was moving down so hard after hours, or not after hours, but after last week of trading. I know we're supposed to be doing this on the Biora call, but I mean, what the hell? Why not? Right? We're still waiting for them to show up.
Poor Anna's on Hawaii time. That's 6 hours Eastern time plus 6 hours.
Oh my god! The market opens up at like
Midnight.
That's midnight. Jesus.
Thank you, Anna. Verify that one for me. Let's see, it's 6 hours before
Pre-market is at 10 p.m.
Yeah, because if it's 6 hours beforehand.
Yeah, but come on, she's in Hawaii. I'd give up being here for Hawaii.
Same. I was surprised how cheap houses were there. They're only like $250,000.
Hawaii is like living in a postcard.
Every day.
Gotta learn to speak the language so that you can blend in a little bit.
Yawahula.
Melakaliki maka is the thing to say.
That was really good for Stephanie.
Whoa.
Okay, DNA, do your thing.
Might as well catch up with all
Amazing.
the other plays while we're looking at this stuff. You guys want to look at my charts in the meanwhile until we get started on this earnings call?
I'm gonna just see B-Big had a filing. They had a nice little press release while they're suspended. They had an opportunity for a press release, but did they do it when they're open and need a boost? No, they waited till they were suspended.
They have to announce any material changes in the company within so many days of it occurring, though. So I'm pretty sure this was the announcement that Eric wanted to share on the interview call with me, but obviously that didn't get to happen. I'm pretty sure that that's why, but it's a material change in the company, so they must disclose it once it happens within so many days. So they're under a legal obligation.
Yeah, but the other filing was them litigating their case before the hearing tomorrow.
Well, they still have to make that announcement too. It's not exactly like they can hide it though, or that they would want to.
It just pees me off to no end.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what pisses me off to no end is that John Colucci is not in prison right now. Like, let's arrest this bastard and just get it over with.
Oh, you missed the TD ring at the Numb had earlier. It was wonderful. It should have been recorded.
Yeah, but the oh, never mind. I can't even get started again, TD.
We're gonna do a numbskully rant now. All right.
It was a beautiful thing to hear.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal until everybody kept saying, "Tell us how you really feel."
Geez, DNA really is still moving.
Yes, sir. I'll take it.
I picked up a couple of shares.
Let me know if that's too simple, TD.
I'll go take a look.
When Bill said,
it's
okay,
really
DNA. Sorry. When he said, okay, the DNA do your thing, I thought it was starting to breed his dogs.
I mean,
How about we
wouldn't put
throw?
it past him.
How about we throw a nice little bullish chart there behind it? Just a little bit of green bars, a little bit in the background.
Absolutely, coming right
that'll
up.
be a nice little added touch, and I think that'd be just fine.
All right, 1 second.
Mr. Boulay invented a new kind of toy dog breed that is going to be sweeping the nation. They're called the Forkies.
Yeah, those aren't dogs. Those are Forkies.
Oh no! Did the Frenchie have sex with the Yorkie? Is that what happened?
Sure, fucking did, man.
Did you ever load the picture? I didn't see it.
So now
I thought it was a porky.
Yeah, we have Forkies now.
Hey, wait a minute. You can't post the picture because you charged us a nickel last night. And that reminds me, Todd Bigsley, you owe me a nickel because Bitcoin did not open above 25 this morning.
Yeah, it actually opened under 24, so I think I owe you like a pair of rubber nickels. And also, you made me look at Hussies instead of Forkies last night, so now Boulay owes me money too.
Hey, I showed y'all the Forkies, man. Y'all owe me the nickel. It's a nickel for the peep show, man.
Daggone, TD. When you have a call, you make it good. You were right.
What was I right about? Which one?
When you not a stock play. What you just told me about the design thing. When you have a suggestion, man, you knock it out of the freaking park.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Todd, pay Boulay my nickel.
Do you accept?
There you go.
Okay, they're gonna get this call started here in just a second.
I just sent it.
I'm on my knees. It's cash or credit?
Do you not accept nickel token?
We're recording, buddy.
All right. You guys are going to be immortalized on YouTube. All your degeneracy will be exposed for the world to see.
No, just let me know when you're gonna record. Let me know when you start recording.
You call me a degenerate. Excuse you.
I'm already recording. It's been recording. This whole conversation has been under recording. I don't think, like, obviously y'all don't pay attention.
You guys, I've been.
It wouldn't be the first time.
How
I
do
think
you guys
one.
not realize when I'm quiet? He's definitely recording.
Well, at least they got it. Some generic HTF.
This is pure unadulterated HTF content right here. That's what's going on. Oh,
Screw
man.
get banned off of YouTube. Screw getting demonetized.
And I wish y'all would have corrected me. I'm sitting here thinking Porkies. Where's he getting Porkies from, man? It's Porkies. Come on.
Forkies or Forkies? I don't know.
What the hell in the sim? What the hell in the Maxis is this sim music?
I thought this was the Biora earnings call.
Oh my god.
This sounds
we're
like
riding
this.
the
This
elevator
sounds like
up.
music right off of the Sims Sim soundtrack.
Hey man, don't be hating on the Sims.
I love the Sims.
And in the background, you can hear "fuck you with a cactus." Oh yeah.
There goes the demonetizing.
Demonetized.
How did they all get hold of this track?
Who didn't see that coming?
Her last night.
If I ever want to make any revenue, I can never have you guys on the mic. That's for sure.
Hey, I behave myself.
Oh, I
just get
can't.
instigated.
It's blame.
I'll have to
Boulay
mute
for playing
myself
that
too
on
while
the-
I'm at it. I'm
you
no
know,
better.
Boulay, it's Boulay's fault for having that playing on the MeBot, you know, and I just.
Hey, you two can't hear
Every
it.
time you go live, I instantly mute myself because I know I'm gonna do something dumb that's gonna get myself pinged for something. So I'm just like, "Oh, you're live? Great, mute. See you guys later."
Hey, Logical, how did the gains come in for the wedding gift? What did it end up being?
You really want me to give like a real number?
Yeah. How much did we raise for your
wanna
wedding
hear
gift?
how much
We
you
have
made.
we have to know. We have to know.
You guys gave me over $1,000. Like you guys, it's
Nah.
like
Hell
$1,800
yeah.
right now.
Hell
That's
yeah.
what's up.
All right. Yeah, you gotta send us a screenshot of the PayPal account now, so that I can add it to the so that I can add that screenshot to the video. I'm gonna publish this shit on YouTube.
He's already transferred it out.
He's already pulled the money out.
Yeah,
Oh.
that shit's already in my bank account. I had to pay for the fireworks display today.
All right, well, no worries. That's and I'm so glad that we were able to put the gift together.
Dude, like I told my girl about it, or I told my girl about this, what you guys put together, and my dad about it the other day. Like, you have no idea how amazed I am at the fact that you guys did this. Like, it was beautiful. Thank you. And with that put me just over the top that I needed to get to, where out on voice chat today with everybody that's in here, I was able to talk to the venue, and they called me back and said, yeah, they can add the fireworks display to me. They can make sure they'll get it in there, and they won't tell my fiance about it, and it'll be a surprise at the end. And that's all because you guys threw a couple extra bucks at the end of at the end of last week like that. Like, dude, that was just enough to put me over what I needed.
It's being recorded. I would now
Thank
like
you
to
so much. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Please go ahead.
It looks like they're getting started now.
Thank you, operator. Good afternoon, and welcome to Biora Therapeutics second quarter 2022 corporate update and financial results conference call. Joining me on the call are Adi Mohanty, Chief Executive Officer, and Eric Despardes, Chief Financial Officer. Before I turn the call over to Mr. Mohanty, I would like to remind you that today's call will include forward-looking statements within the meaning of the federal securities laws, including but not limited to the types of statements identified as forward-looking in our quarterly report on Form 10-Q that we will file later today, and our subsequent reports filed with the SEC, which will all be available on our website in the Investors section. These forward-looking statements represent our views only as of the date of this call and involve substantial risks and uncertainties, including many that are beyond our control. Please note that the actual results could differ materially from those projected in any forward-looking statement. For a further description of the risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those expressed in the forward-looking statements, as well as risks related to our business, please see the company's periodic reports filed with the SEC. With that, I will now turn the call over to Adi Mohanty, the CEO of Biora Therapeutics.
Thanks, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining us. During the second quarter, we completed our transition from a diagnostics company into Biora Therapeutics, a biotherapeutics company that's working on changing the way large molecules can be delivered to patients with potentially game-changing outcomes. Biora is much more resource efficient and making rapid progress in its development. We've continued to generate human safety and performance data with our targeted therapeutics program, where we recently shared top-line data from a human study demonstrating that the performance of our ingestible device is not impacted by food. Additionally, we recently concluded another study in active UC patients with outstanding results, demonstrating the device functions as intended in these patients despite disease in the colon. We received constructive feedback from the FDA on our UC clinical development plan, where they generally agreed with our proposed trial design and provided comments that we expect will allow us to have a more robust IND filing. We very much appreciate the FDA feedback and intend to implement their recommendations, including their suggestions on the tox studies, which were already planned for Q4 of this year. We expect these activities to allow us to file an IND in Q1 of 2023 so we can begin our phase 1 study. Our systemic therapeutics program continues on plan and is currently generating additional bioavailability data in animal models. We expect these data to be generated in the third quarter of this year and believe that is what will allow us to progress our plans with current collaborators and potential partners. We gave very well-received presentations at the DDW and CRS conferences and recently announced that several abstracts covering our targeted and systemic programs were accepted at the upcoming ACG conference in October. Finally, we were awarded very important patents which continue to expand the protection of our two platforms and beyond. I'll cover these in more detail in a moment. First, our targeted therapeutics platform. As a reminder, our first program with this platform is in ulcerative colitis, or UC. Annual global sales for UC drugs are estimated to be approximately $7 billion, and the inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD space, overall is about $19 billion globally. Our lead program, PGN-600, is a proprietary liquid formulation of tofacitinib delivered in the colon using our targeted delivery technology, which is a device approximately the size of a fish oil pill. A commercially available version of tofacitinib is approved for the treatment of UC. Tofacitinib is administered orally, and like other drugs that are orally delivered, is mostly absorbed in the stomach or the upper GI tract, whereas UC is a disease of the lower GI tract. By delivering drug topically at the site of disease where it is needed, PGN-600 has the potential to improve efficacy and also limit systemic exposure to improve safety. We're extremely pleased with the development of our drug delivery device. We have now completed 3 human studies with our device. The first study was completed last year and showed our device's performance in a fasted state. Fasting is the norm for ingestible devices, but fasting is not ideal for patients, especially for patients requiring frequent administration or dosing, which is what is required in chronic diseases like ulcerative colitis. We recently announced top-line results for a study we completed in Q2 that included multiple dosing events per subject with different feeding schedules. Healthy participants were required to ingest a total of 4 devices each, with administration occurring following excretion of the previous device as per study protocol. This study specifically included administration of the device with food. The study demonstrated that all devices were safely ingested and exited the body naturally. 43 capsules were recovered for analysis, and performance was measured by retrieving data from the recovered devices. data was successfully retrieved from 39 capsules, with 4 capsules damaged during data retrieval. All 39 devices indicated entry to the colon, activation, and deployment regardless of fasted or fed schedule, with no failure modes observed in the analyzed devices. To our knowledge, this could be the first ingestible therapeutic delivery device that may not require fasting or other food restriction for use, greatly enhancing patient convenience and particularly helpful for chronic diseases. We also recently announced top-line results from another study that assessed the safety and performance of the device in active ulcerative colitis patients. Given the different gastrointestinal physiology and disease activity in these patients, it is critical that the device performs as intended and can identify entry into the colon, activate, and release a payload in UC patients. In the study, the device was ingested orally by 7 patients with active ulcerative colitis. After identification of colon entry, it released a saline solution payload that included radioisotopes. Scintigraphic imaging was used to independently indicate device location and payload delivery to the lower GI tract. The device was well tolerated, and the study demonstrated that in all patients, the device accurately identified entry into the colon, triggered release of a liquid payload, and achieved distribution across the entire lower colon as confirmed by an independent scintigraphic imaging method. The study is being completed with no further enrollment planned. We're not aware of any other oral drug delivery technology that can accurately detect colon entry, especially in the environment of inflammation, blood, and highly variable motility seen with these patients. This makes the targeted therapeutics platform a potential game changer in the management of diseases like ulcerative colitis. These successful studies in humans support the safety and performance of the device and are key steps in advancing towards our PGN-600 clinical program, and also demonstrates the potential of the platform for localized delivery of other drugs. As you know, PGN-600 is our lead program in our targeted therapeutics platform and is a combination of our device and our proprietary formulation of tofacitinib. In Q2, we had submitted a Type C filing to the FDA asking for feedback on our proposed clinical development plan. The FDA response was constructive and extremely helpful. They generally agreed with our trial design and provided helpful feedback on the protocols. The FDA also reviewed our proposed supporting data package and confirmed the need for animal toxicology data. As we had previously mentioned, we had already planned for an animal tox study later this year. We believe that with the final reports of the recently completed human functional studies and the planned animal tox study this year, we will be in a position to file an IND in Q1 2023 to support the initiation of our phase 1 study. Following FDA feedback, we move ahead with more certainty and clarity and are able to share our proposed design for the study. The phase 1 single and multiple ascending dose studies will evaluate safety, tolerability, pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamics of PGN-600. We expect that the single ascending dose study will include 24 healthy volunteers and evaluate drug concentration in serum and feces. The multiple ascending dose study is planned to include 24 healthy volunteers with repeat daily dosing for 7 days, and in addition to drug concentrations in serum and feces, we will also measure drug concentrations in colon tissue. 2 different doses of PGN-600 are planned for both studies, 5 and 10 milligrams of tofacitinib daily. These doses are well below the commercially approved induction dose of tofacitinib of 10 milligrams twice daily. We're including a diagram of our clinical study design in the updated corporate presentation on our website. Given the data already generated and presented on the correlation between tissue concentration of tofacitinib and improved patient outcomes, if the clinical data generated in our phase 1 trial confirms that we can safely achieve high tissue concentrations, just as we have seen with PGN-600 in preclinical studies, we believe there's a high likelihood of improving remission rates in UC patients compared to current therapies. Because of the well-known therapeutic profile of tofacitinib in standard oral formulations and the ability to utilize or reference these existing data, we believe our development risks for PGN-600 are reduced. Soon after the phase 1 trial is completed, we plan to move into a disease interventional study where we plan to evaluate clinical remission after 8 weeks treatment with PGN-600 in active UC patients. We're now entering an important phase of development for this program and are very excited by the opportunity to help UC patients and address their substantial unmet needs. Data supporting the need for high tissue concentrations to achieve remission in ulcerative colitis was presented at Digestive Disease Week in May. Key opinion leader, Dr. Séverine Vermeer, gave a presentation titled Tofacitinib Tissue Exposure Correlates with Endoscopic Outcome, which Dr. Vermeer co-authored with lead author Dr. Bram Verstock and others. In the presentation, Dr. Vermeer presented patient data confirming a significant relationship between drug levels in tissue and endoscopic improvement in patients with moderate to severe ulcerative colitis who were treated with tofacitinib. Specifically, the study supports the hypothesis that a tissue concentration of tofacitinib at or exceeding IC90 is directly correlated to significant improvement in patient outcomes. Preclinical data indicates that these tissue concentrations can be achieved with PGN-600 even with lower doses than commercially available oral doses of tofacitinib. In addition, current data suggests a need for combination therapy to target multiple inflammatory pathways in some patients with UC. However, combination therapies must overcome the systemic toxicity limits of current approaches. Biora's targeted therapeutics platform is designed to achieve higher doses in tissue while significantly reducing toxicity due to systemic uptake. Our approach could facilitate combination therapy to simultaneously target multiple inflammatory pathways, leading to improved therapeutic outcomes for the many UC patients who today are unable to achieve remission of symptoms. With respect to our IP in this area, we recently announced the issuance of a U.S. patent, the granting of 2 European patents, and the allowance of an additional U.S. patent with claims directed at our device, including the localization technology that enables detection of colon entry. This technology is essential for accurate and consistent targeted delivery to the colon. In addition to use in our drug delivery device, the localization technology is a standalone, unique technology that has the potential to be used broadly for ingestible devices. Next, I'll cover our systemic therapeutics platform. The goal of this platform is to facilitate oral administration of drugs that would otherwise require injection or infusion. Our systemic therapeutics delivery solution is an oral device which provides liquid jet delivery of large molecules to the small intestine in order to maximize systemic uptake. We believe this platform can help improve disease management and associated patient outcomes, reduce intravenous infusion costs, help expand the market for drugs across a range of chronic use indications, and help biotherapeutics such as monoclonals become more competitive with small molecule substitutes. Our platform has the potential to deliver a broad range of approved or other large molecules such as proteins, peptides, and nucleic acids without complex reformulation. During the second quarter, we've continued to make progress with device design and manufacturing. Although we have data with several molecules on this platform, such as anti-TNF-alpha and monoclonal antibodies, our initial focus is on a high concentration formulation of the peptide liraglutide, a GLP-1 receptor agonist. We believe that achieving 10 to 15% bioavailability through oral delivery would enable our platform to be commercially viable with a broad range of large molecules. At the Controlled Release Society annual meeting in July, we presented results of early preclinical research on the systemic therapeutics platform, including the development of preclinical models that enable further evaluation of device performance and pharmacokinetics. We also presented the results of a preclinical study where we demonstrated monoclonal antibody bioavailability of up to 55% with an average of 25% in animals with drug detected in blood. These results are an order of magnitude greater than the current oral protein or peptide delivery methods and support the broad potential use of the platform. We expect to share existing and future results at other upcoming conferences, including the Parenteral Drug Association Universe of Prefilled Syringes and Injection Devices Conference, and the ACG annual meeting in October. We currently have multiple animal studies ongoing with liraglutide and other molecules. Data readouts are expected in Q3. We believe that data from these studies could be sufficient to progress our collaborations and potential new partnerships into next stages, as well as allow us to be ready for human clinical trials next year. We recently received notice that an important Biora patent application has been allowed by the USPTO for our systemic therapeutics platform. The application covers oral delivery of a liquid formulation of any GLP-1 receptor agonist using any method of liquid jet delivery in the small intestine. It strengthens the intellectual property position of our PGN-OB2 candidate, which consists of a novel liquid formulation of liraglutide delivered via liquid jet to the small intestine for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. The only currently marketed oral GLP-1 receptor is about 1% bioavailable. We believe we can do significantly better than that, as we have already shown preclinical bioavailability averaging over 20% with proteins. This allowed patent application, combined with the rest of our IP portfolio, provides a strong footprint for Biora in the GLP-1 market, which is forecasted to be well over $20 billion by 2025. To summarize some of our upcoming milestones for both platforms. We will be finalizing reports for the 611 and 602 studies that were recently completed to facilitate future publication of the results. We plan to initiate a tox study with PGN-600 later this year, and based on the results, we'll file an IND in Q1 2023 to support the initiation of our phase 1 study. We're currently running multiple animal studies with our systemic therapeutics program with liraglutide and expecting data generation through Q3. We expect to execute animal studies for molecules of our pharma collaborators by Q4 this year. We will be presenting several abstracts covering both our targeted and systemic programs at the upcoming ACG conference in October. We expect a pre-IND filing with the FDA for our systemic therapeutics program with one of our molecules next year, and we expect to initiate our phase 2 study for PGN-600 next year. With that, I'll now turn the call over to Eric for a discussion of our financial results and capital market activities.
Thanks, Eddie, and good afternoon, everyone. Our near-term focus remains optimizing capital allocation to our targeted therapeutic pipeline and systemic therapeutic pipeline with the goal of generating value through the achievement of key development milestones and data generation. We're now a more focused organization with a much reduced cash burn profile. With the spin-out of our single molecule detection platform, we've created the opportunity to generate a return on our past investment while eliminating the associated cash burn. Operating expenses, excluding stock-based compensation expenses, were $12.9 million in the second quarter of 2022, a reduction of $5.1 million compared to Q1, as we've now completed a transfer of our molecular testing assets, and we expect further reductions in G&A by the end of the year as we continue to align the organization to our needs. More specifically, G&A expenses in the second quarter were $8.4 million, including $0.7 million in stock-based compensation expense, a 38% reduction compared to Q1, while R&D expenses in the second quarter were $5.9 million, including $0.7 million in stock-based compensation expense. As we've mentioned in our previous call, we expect R&D expenses will mainly track our clinical studies workflow, and combined with further G&A cost savings, we maintain our expectation of ending the year with a monthly operating cash burn of less than $4 million. We had a cash balance of $48.5 million as of June 30th, 2022, giving us runway well into 2023 thanks to our reduced cash burn. We are maintaining a very active IR plan to engage with investors, tell our story, and make sure our important programs have adequate visibility with the investor community. We are seeing an increasing following from biotech analysts and invite investors to contact us if you have interest in our programs and development strategy. With that, I will now turn the call over back to Adi.
Thanks, Eric. So, we're making good progress with our pipeline and are excited about how our programs are moving ahead. We look forward to providing further updates as we continue to generate more data. With that, operator, we're now ready for questions.
Thank you. At this time, we will be conducting a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star and then 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star and then 2 if you would like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. One moment please while we poll for questions. Our first question is from Julian Harrison of BTIG. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my questions and congrats on all the recent progress. I'm curious if you could share in any more detail what the FDA wants to have better characterized before you file your IND for PGN-600. Generally just want to better understand what is contributing to the slightly updated timeline there.
Hi, Julian. Yeah, if you remember, in the past we said we were approaching them with a slightly aggressive approach on the supporting data package, even though we had internally already planned the animal tox study. And by the way, you know, some of these animal tox studies, they book out like a year ahead of time, so we had already booked it for sometime in the coming months. So, not referencing any existing animal tox study, but using our own, it was one of the main things, and so we're planning to do that, and we didn't have any of the current studies like 601, 602 completed at the time. Now that we have that information and we have this planned tox study coming up anyway, we think it's best we include all of that, get all these reports, and kind of meet the requirement of that filing. And so that takes us to that Q1 filing, along with the fact that they gave us quite detailed input. So the good part was we proposed our design, we proposed both phase 1, phase 2, and that's why we're sharing so much more. If you look at, you know, the actual design itself, those were things that we had not shared before and we feel more comfortable sharing because of all the input that they gave us. Some of that will just help us make our protocol a little tighter, but most of that gave us comfort that they generally think this is a good plan and a good idea. So we feel pretty good about getting that input because it's, as you know, it's not just the drug, it's not just a device, it's the combo. So we're not worried about any of it. We expect to execute this study, get all of the packages buttoned up and file. And hopefully people look at the fact that we're looking at a dose somewhere in the range of 5 to 10, which is what, maybe about a quarter of the current commercial dose. That makes it really interesting.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. And then can you remind us what the PK parameters you're most interested in are for the phase 1 healthy volunteer study you plan to start early next year? Generally just curious, what would be a win in your mind for this early study beyond safety?
Yeah, and so we referenced, I think just earlier in the call, the IC90 tissue levels. And so for us to be able to get a tissue level somewhere in that range and a very low plasma level. So the plasma levels are the problem with the toxicity, and that's the safety issues. If we can show what we showed in our animal models, right? You know, so far we have shown in our animal models multiple factor lower systemic uptake and a much higher tissue uptake. So we know what the IC90 is. We know what that number looks like, and if we can get anything in that range in the tissue and anything in the range of much less than current systemic uptake. Those are the places we can reference existing commercial data from Xeljanz. That would be very interesting. And all of that comes out in this phase 1.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Next question is from Mayank Mamtani of B. Riley. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Yuan for Mayank. Thank you for taking our questions. We have a few of them. So first, on the IND feedback, can you clarify what's the required tox study? And has FDA commented on whether it is related to the JAK inhibitor specifically or the device itself?
If I understand your question correctly, you want to know if the FDA was worried about the JAK inhibitors or our device. And I can tell you that there was no concern about the JAK inhibitor that they expressed to us. There was no concern about safety, especially given that we explained to them the levels that we were trying to go to, which is a much lower than the commercially approved dose, and the fact that we have some data that shows the kind of systemic uptake, which is much lower. They were generally in agreement with what we had proposed and liked the idea. There was no concerns there. It was, the combination of a drug and a device meant that we couldn't quite reference the previous animal tox studies. We had to generate our own, and that's what we're doing. So the combination, which is not a worry, just something that we need to do. So the combination going through animal tox study is the main requirement that we have to complete. All the other comments, there was no real concern about safety around any of the JAK inhibitor, our dose, our proposed design. Those are not the comments that came.
Got it. That's helpful color there. Just want to confirm, if you use the same device carrying a different drug, will FDA asking for more tox study, or will the IND filing be easier?
That would require me to do a little speculation. I'm not ready to do that. I absolutely believe that, every program that we run gets easier once we have done the first one. So I cannot right now, in good conscience, predict what that next preclinical package or IND-enabling package would look like, but I'm quite sure we could leverage our own studies, even though there were different molecules, because the combination would have gone through, the drug-device combination would have gone through more data generation by the time we get to the next molecule.
Got it. And our next question is about when you have those active UC patients, some of them could be associated with GI disorders such as diarrhea and open wounds in the GI tract. Just want to hear your thoughts from your trial studies. Will those side effects such as diarrhea have impact on the drug absorption in the GI tract?
I want to make sure I understood that question completely. Are you, may I clarify, are you asking if our formulation or our device would work? Because wasn't clear.
Yes, so we are just trying to see will side effects such as diarrhea have impact on the PK profile of the drug when you have a device ingested by those patients?
Okay, so fair question. I can point you to one of our recently completed studies, right? So one of the worries would be what happens when this device goes through an actual UC patient. So we had the 602 study that we just published where we actually gave this to very active UC patients with pretty severe disease. I can't quite share all the data yet. We're completing the reports so that we can publish them. But there were very active, high scores in that study. And so there was bleeding, there was inflammation, there was varying rates of motility in terms of, like you said, right, many motions several times a day. Our capsule, our device, was still able to accurately locate in variable patients with variable disease the right location, deliver the drug, and independently with imaging, we could show that the drug coated the entire colon. So the expectation is that the formulation that we have would be able to coat the entire colon, which is where the uptake would happen. So even with all of those variations that you talk about, motility, multiple motions, inflammation, bleeding, all of it gives us confidence that we believe that this would work quite well.
Got it. Thanks. And our last question is about your device performance study. Just want to hear it in plain language. What does it mean for your future drug designs or drug candidate selections or clinical trial designs?
Yeah. So we're actually extremely thrilled, right? To look at the two studies we just reported on, we have now done many devices through many different people, healthy volunteers, UC patients, and all of them worked. So all of them accurately detected that transition, that it went into the right spot in the intestine, it dropped the drug in the right location. We're quite excited by the fact that it also worked with different feeding regimes, to not have the restriction potentially on the label of, fasting requirements before or after the pill. These are all things that give us great confidence that our device is working really well. It is now, through multiple different trials, shown that it works. We are now able to say that we think that the device functions quite well. We now need to put the drug in so that we can find out when the drug is delivered to the right location, if the uptake is like we saw in the animals. This gives us a lot more confidence going to our next molecule, but we're not looking at the next molecule right now. We want to do all the work that's necessary over the next few months to make sure we continue that progress on that first molecule and take it into clinic. At the same time, our other device on the systemic also continues to progress well, and we look forward to sharing more of that data. So quite happy about where our device development currently stands.
Got it. Thanks for the additional comment. That's all from us.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, if anyone would like to ask a question, you're welcome to press star and then 1. If you would like to ask a question, you're welcome to press star and then 1. We will pause a moment for any other questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the question and answer session, and I would like to turn the call back to Aditya Mohanty for any closing remarks.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. We look forward to coming back with more interesting data as we go through our programs. Thanks.
Okay, so that's it for the call. I guess we'll take the time to try and translate some of the shit that was said. I can cover most of the financials, and I'll probably turn to the smart folks in the crowd that actually understand some of the medical terminology, but I'll do my best to give a bit of an overview. So let's start with the financials for Biora, because that's what all of the analysts on Wall Street will understand. Let's pull up Biora's. Here we go. Are you guys able to see the PDF?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So covering the financials just a little bit. Oh, I also turned you guys down because I didn't want to overlap too much video. Let me turn you back up again. Chef Pew Pew, can I get a test?
Testes?
All
One,
right.
2, 3? 3 testes?
All right, that'll work. Okay, so let's cover up some of the fundamental developments and the news releases from Biora Therapeutics. So at the top of their press release, They announced a successful completion of the PM602 human study for the targeted therapeutics platform. This was the device that deploys a liquid payload of tofacitinib, which is a liquid drug treatment. I don't know anything about the mechanism of action, but I know that its design and it was developed by Pfizer, and the way that it's supposed to work is someone swallows a tablet, it goes to the site of irritation, and it just kind of coats the whole intestine. But this requires a very large drug payload, and in the traditional tablets, and because a lot of the drug is very sensitive to stomach acid, a lot of it can get destroyed, and it also doesn't absorb very well as a powder, so the tablets aren't as effective. It loses anywhere from 40 to 60% efficacy by the time it actually reaches the site, and it's not targeted at all. So the purpose of this biotherapeutics platform that Biora has developed is a smart pill that's able to go into the intestine. It completely survives the stomach acid, and it goes. What the hell? All right. Well, got to turn off the. That was the Biora earnings call music. It unmuted itself somehow. I think it just refreshed and like played the earnings call over on repeat, which is kind of funny.
That
Anyway,
was amazing.
That's why you warned us not to go into the lobby earlier.
Right? The music's depressing. Anyway, as I was saying, so the targeted nature of Biora's biotherapeutics platform is that the smart pill completely survives the stomach acid, and it delivers a directed payload straight to the site of irritation caused by ulcerative colitis. So it actually is able to seek out the area that is most sensitive and deploys a liquid payload, which enables a rapid absorption. And also, because it's a smaller payload, there's much fewer side effects. So a lot of people that absorb it systemically through the tablet, they have some pretty bad side effects that comes with stomach cramps, and it's kind of like the cure is almost worse than the disease itself. But they do get some relief from the drug, so it does work as long as it's not too much of it, and as long as it's actually reaching the area. So this pill solves both of those two later problems by actually deploying the correct amount of the drug directly to where it's needed. The PM611 study also checked to see if the volunteers were able to show that they had systemic absorption of tofacitinib on various feeding schedules, which this is a big development because this was so successful that it proves that somebody who isn't even fasting is able to get full systemic absorption of the drug at full efficacy. So that's huge because there's no other platform in medicine right now that's able to do that. So because everybody's able to take this smart pill basically, even while taking like full meals without interrupting their diet at all, that's extremely increases convenience, and they don't have to fast like with normal tofacitinib drugs. So that's quite a huge development. So these two things together proves that the oral delivery system for liquid payloads is extremely effective. One, it delivers a minimal amount of the drug necessary to treat the condition, and it doesn't require you to fast. So that's all excellent news for the therapeutics platform. As far as the financials go, the company actually improved its standing pretty significantly. This is big for them as well. Quarter over quarter, they were able to reduce their operating expenses by $5.6 million, which is a huge reduction of their cash burn. By itself, that gives them plenty of runway to go well into late 2023. They did this by basically cutting their R&D, their R&D labs and their R&D expenses overall. And what they stated on the call was that they plan further reduction on those because it's no longer necessary since they've secured the intellectual property for basically their entire platform. And the only thing that they need to be focused on now in order to go straight to market with this product is to focus solely on the injectable biotherapeutics delivery system, which is that's the smart pill that actually like attaches itself to the intestinal wall and deploys a payload intravenously through the intestines, which sounds scary but it's all really well designed. There's actually a really cool video from, I believe it's the University of Iowa, that they had a doctor that did all of the biomechanical engineering for this pill, and it's really cool how it works. But the pill basically unpacks itself and it sticks to the side of the intestinal wall, and it just pokes a small needle in through the intestinal wall and deploys the drug right where it's needed, and then it just safely withdraws the needle, encapsulates it again inside the same pill, and then you just pass it, with your last meal. So overall, the financials look really good, and they made a massive reduction of their EPS deficit. There was an analyst expectation of a 12-cent deficit. The actual was only 3-cent deficit. So they almost made it to EPS profitable state. So that's an excellent, excellent development for Biora. I can't believe that the price hasn't moved at all after hours. I'm really shocked, actually. But overall, there's nothing but good news on this call. The next thing ahead for Biora is for them to start working on that injectable biotherapeutics pill, the OBDS delivery system. But right now, it looks like their drug delivery system is so far passing all the tests with flying colors. And they also announced that they secured a patent for their latest designs as well. So I can't find bad news. I like to try to stay pretty neutral when it comes to these, but overall, like, Biora is doing a fantastic job. They've got at the moment about $48.5 million worth of cash equivalents. And their total assets, which include their tax receivables, prepaid expenses, and disposable illiquid assets, puts them at about $60 million. Total assets overall, including all of that and other assets, property and equipment and things like that, that brings them up to $77 million. But the cash equivalents is what's really important here, because since December of 2021, they only had 88 million, and they burned through about half of it through this quarter. But it was actually expected that they would have burned through almost all of it by now. So they've been able to reduce their expenses enough to give them enough cash runway with their existing capital for the rest of the year and into 2023. And if they do further reduce their balance sheet of expenses, then that will only extend their runway further and give them more time. But it sounds like they're almost ready to go to market. They discussed partnerships on the call, but didn't actually disclose what they were. There was another interesting statement that was made on the call that caught my attention, and that was that they mentioned, or Ari Mohanty, the CEO, mentioned that they were working with a partnership for another drug, which let me pull up my notes here. The drug was called liraglutide, and liraglutide is an injectable diet medication, essentially. That's what I was able to understand. I'll have to do a little bit of reading into it to figure out how this drug actually works, but this indicates to me, because this is traditionally an injectable medication, it's not one that you tend to take through tablets. It's injected on a weekly or a monthly basis, according to what I'm reading here, just off of like the first page of Google. So like, this is not deeply researched yet. But if this is an injectable drug and it's only given through injections, and they're already discussing putting this as their next applicable drug for their OBDS system, then this proves that they're going out looking out for other partnership opportunities with other drug manufacturers to apply different classes and use cases of drugs with their OBDS platform, which strengthens the bull argument that these guys have developed something that is novel, powerful, and extremely profitable. They just need to get their first product out so that they get some revenue in, bring in that cash, get profitable, and from there they have nowhere to go but up. So I'm now officially like extremely bullish on Biora. If they deploy any product, just get anything out there and lock in a profitable partnership with any of these drugs, they will easily survive well into 2023 and beyond. And at this point, I'm convinced that once they secure those first 1, 2, 3 partnerships, this stock will start taking off rapidly because the profitability of this, once they get their first 3 drugs applied and used regularly through various insurers, this is going to send the stock rocketing. It's going to take a while, probably another year or two, but this is, to me, this would be like buying Pfizer when they were trading for $1. You know, this company can get huge. So if anybody here is a nurse or a doctor that is familiar, I think I saw somebody was a pharmacist in here that might be able to explain a little bit more about the application of the drugs that they were discussing. The big one was tofacitinib, which we've talked about before. That's the UC treatment. So if anybody has anything to bring up with that they might be willing to share, or if anybody's got any questions, feel free to bring them up.
Hey, TD.
Yeah, what's up?
What do you think? I've seen a lot of rumors about possible Pfizer buyouts and things like that. Do you think that's a big possibility? Or do you think they're going to try to go on their own?
I'm inclined to believe that they'll go on their own since they're pursuing partnerships with other companies. I'm hoping that is the case, but a Pfizer buyout is a distinct possibility. Even without a private agreement, their float is trading pretty. Most of their outstanding shares, as I understand, are already out in the float, so another company could buy them out.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I'm hoping that that's not the case. I really don't want this company to be bought out because I think that on their own 2 feet, this company could get huge. But it all depends on what the motivations of these the hedge funds that currently hold most of the outstanding shares in Biora are. Their motivation may simply be to just get the company to its starting point and then sell it to the first big pharma firm that comes along with a blank check. It would still be good for us, but for me, what my desire is to make this a long-term retirement investment and for my ownership in Biora to extend well into the next decade. Like I plan on holding these shares for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Can I get a Coca-Cola?
Sorry, General Disarray. You're coming through a little bit choppy.
I was just saying that's what I'm looking for also as a retirement stock.
Right on. So right now, the price is still more or less barcoding. It had a little bit of a pop after the initial earnings statement was published. I think it jumped by about 5% up to $1.08. Do we have any other questions? See some people typing in chat, so I'll wait a second.
We're basically looking at Biora just staying pretty much flat for right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The the news on this earnings call was fantastic. I'm really happy with how this went. Even if the price isn't moving to reflect any movement or momentum whatsoever, this doesn't change my thesis in the slightest. If you're still holding on to August calls for this Friday, they're probably not going to make any big changes. You're most likely going to give back any current gains to Theta starting on Tuesday morning. So I'm not going to be holding on to those positions. I was expecting more of a pop if there was bullish news, and we did get that news, but it hasn't really moved at all. So I'll just wait to see if there's a little bit of a pop in the morning, and then I'll get out of those August 19th calls. But I still have leaps going out till January 2023 and 2024. And if I can, I might add to those positions over time and maybe pick up some shares as I go if I'm able to.
The news was good. It just wasn't the type of news that's going to move the stock price.
Right. It's like everything went totally over the heads of the Wall Street analysts. Like I think that the only person who asked that coherent question was the, and I use the word coherent loosely because he sounded like he was like he had marbles in his mouth, but the analyst from B. Riley was asking very serious and intelligent questions, specifically like how has your drug platform held up with cases where the patient has diarrhea? No other way to say it. So sorry, YouTube, but the it was a good question because UC patients tend to suffer from that symptom quite a bit, and that's important that they are absorbing the drug even under those even while suffering that symptom, because otherwise the drug's totally not effective. Hey Rajit, let's see. Clinicaltrials.gov would be the best place to look for. Okay. Okay.
And it was a good question because the patients that they're dealing with is likely to have those conditions.
Yeah, it's a chronic inflammation of the intestines, so it's not something that goes away. It's just a condition that you have to treat. There's no cure, so it's something that has to be regularly administered. It needs to be, if you have the product that's the most convenient, the most effective, and the most expedient for delivery, then that's the only thing you need to be profitable in this space. And right now, Biora looks like its device is the best candidate right now. Rajit was saying in the voice text chat that I don't see a registered study on a quote smart pill. What I do see is that Pfizer is looking into a drug called CP699550, which seems to be a modified tofacitinib molecule to aid in absorption. FDA approval for a medication device will be challenging. It took 20 years for them to authorize insulin pumps for the general public, but don't take my word for it. I need to look more in depth at the research they've done with this delivery system. Thanks, Rajit. To the best of my knowledge, the University of Iowa has a biomedical engineer working on they did the work on this particular drug. I can't remember the doctor's name, but they're a doctor of biomechanical engineering that helped develop this pill, and the work that's been done on it so far and the human trial studies have shown so far that it's had no failure status. They've had no problems retrieving the device. They've all deployed their payloads properly with full deployment of the payloads, and and nobody has suffered any complications or any kind of side effects. So even less side effects than the traditional tablet form of tofacitinib, which has absorption issues, and because of the size of the dose that's given in tablet form, tends to cause severe side effects. So my hope is that this device will very quickly get through the FDA approval process, because every single study so far has shown complete success. There's been no failures or no partial failures in any of the studies so far. They're just absolutely killing it. So I will leave it to experts to review the studies for themselves, but based on my limited understanding, just as a, as an amateur trader and a guy with at least a slight background in just general technology, it looks really good to me.
In my opinion, the insulin pumps are not comparable because the insulin pumps you had the ability to do multiple doses, where with the Biora device, it's just a one time.
That is true. The device has a fixed dosage, and it's not something that you have to recharge. You just take one pill as needed. So that, I guess that would be a separation between the class of the device, I suppose. The insulin pumps, I can see why it took a long time. Although I'm shocked to hear that it took 20 years. I would have expected it like at most to take 5. But yeah, insulin pumps are probably a more risky proposition, just because anything that goes wrong with the device, if it deploys too much, too little, too inconsistently, can cause all kinds of health complications.
I didn't catch the entire call. Did we get an update on what's going on with the preeclampsia stuff?
No, I think they dropped the preeclampsia pursuit. I think they're trying to look for a buyer of the intellectual property and get rid of it. I have a feeling that they were just letting go of that when they made the transition from a diagnostic company over to biotherapeutics. Okay, do we have any more questions? All right. Well, thanks guys for hanging out for the earnings call. Like I said, just wrapping up, the news was excellent. The financials were great. Their cash burn is massively reduced. They've got plenty of cash to go for another year or two, and all of the details on their new drug platform shows that their studies have been massively, massively successful. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the stock responds. But again, this is a long-term hold, so this is not like a squeeze play. Even though the short interest in the company is very large at the moment, this one is one that I would say expect to hold this for many, many years before you see a real return on your investment. And this is one that you would want to buy and hold for, like, not, this isn't for a 100, 200, 300% profit. I'm talking about buy this company now for $1 so that you can hold on to it for 10 years and live off of the dividends in a decade and retire and just like sail off into the sunset. That's the kind of stock that I'm treating this as. The struggle, of course, is that it needs to survive. It needs to make it through this big growth phase of the company, and it is going to be a struggle for them. They do still have a long way to go, but I am feeling very confident in their future. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys for hanging out, and we'll see you tomorrow.